we're waiting for God. We're looking for that light at the end of the tunnel, expecting God to do things, but it hasn't worked out the way we thought it should. In those moments, that's when we need encouragement, and that's when that encouragement can be so powerful.
And life transformation,
Yes.
whether it's in your own life or watching it happen in someone else's life, it does make you smile and it gives you hope.
In all of the good times and even the trials, through tears and through laughter, yeah, I know that I'll smile when I think of you. Smile for the things you do. Smile, God gave me you. You are the reason I smile. Yeah.
This is Behind Our Smiles
Pursuing connection,
and finding joy.
even in the struggle.
And welcome back to another episode of the Behind Our Smiles podcast. We are Joe and Tara Buchanan, and we're so glad that you're here.
Yes, it's always good to be with you. And Joe, we get to sit behind these mics every week and share a lot of stories behind our smiles, but we can't be too selfish and always be the one that's talking in the microphone.
That's right. In fact, one of our favorite things about the podcast is hearing what makes you smile about your husband or wife. So we appreciate you sharing those stories.
And there's something so powerful about sharing those stories, but on the other end, there's something powerful about hearing those stories. And we like hearing those stories as well.
Even if it's not a super happy story, there's still something very powerful about a story. Even a sad story can be powerful because we see how God has worked within that story. And so many times when you see the complete story arc of a story, it can make you smile because you see how a person got from point A to point B and what happened, the transformation that happens within even the difficult part of that story.
Yeah, I think that's what we come down to makes us smile is life transformation,
Yes.
whether it's in your own life or watching it happen in someone else's life. It does make you smile and it gives you hope for whatever you're going through. So we really love hearing the stories that you have shared with us. And one that we got recently, I wanted to share is a short one. This is from Julie talking about her husband, Colin. And she said, "Our marriage started on sinking sand. By the grace of God, we found Jesus in the middle of the mess. The last 9 years, our walk with Jesus has strengthened our relationship, brought us into a life of sobriety, and a wonderful family with our 3 daughters."
And I think about that because if I'm in a current mess or I feel like my marriage is in sinking sand or I'm dealing with fighting for sobriety, all of a sudden that story becomes so relatable to go. And then when you see others that God has come through for them or they've been able to, with God's help, get to somewhere in their story, it really encourages those who are not feeling successful in their story.
Right, because that's very much a short version of that short story.
Right,
I'm sure there are
right.
many, many other chapters that they could share into those details, those stories, and that we can go, okay, I get it. But to still say those stories happen, they're possible when Jesus comes in and just getting that life transformation from a marriage that was sinking to a marriage that is flourishing, that makes us smile. And we thank you, Julie, and for Colin for sharing that.
Yeah, and also when you're talked about, when you're shared about the way that you impact someone else's life, and that's really what this is. What makes someone else in your life make you smile, right? What makes your husband or wife make you smile? There is something really powerful about knowing that you have impacted someone else's life. Lloyd also shared about his wife, Anna, said what makes him smile is when he thinks about the first year that he and his wife were married. He said, "My wife was making spaghetti one night and she attempted to make enough spaghetti to last a week." So it must have been this huge portion. She said, placed it in this mixing bowl, and when she presented it to Lloyd, the unthinkable happened. He said as she was presenting it, she dropped it and it splattered everywhere. He says on the walls, cabinets, refrigerators, the floor was slippery with red sauce. And as I was reading through this, it made me smile to go, I don't know if I handle it with a smile, with the red sauce
week's
everywhere.
worth of spaghetti.
But anyway, he said her face looked so disappointed, but then her frown turned to laughter and they were laughing. And he said it's a memory that continues to bring to mind how things may go wrong, but it can put a smile on your face because we don't have to take ourselves too serious. He said, after 25 years of marriage, I look back and reflect on those days, especially that day, and remember, I don't have to take myself too serious.
So I added that story because not all stories have to be super like dramatic and sad. Sometimes we have those hysterical moments where you, at the time, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a disaster. I have spaghetti all over my kitchen. But that moment here, he is 25 years later, saying that still twist that kind of changed the trajectory of their relationship and of their marriage, saying when those kind of things happen in life, we're going to not take it so seriously. We're going to learn to laugh about it, maybe just team up and say, well, let's clean it up.
Yes.
We don't have to make it so serious and so difficult sometimes. So I love that those stories we share, not all of them have to be these really deep, dark,
Right.
awful times. Sometimes God shows up the day you spill the spaghetti, and that's something they learned that they were carrying with them 25 years later.
And I think early in our marriage, Tara, I did take myself way too serious. And in a situation like that, I would have been very upset. But you were the one that would be laughing. And I'd be like, why are you laughing?
Some people learn it in the first year.
Yes.
Some people learn it years
But
years later.
You've been really good for me the same way Anna has been for Lloyd. Tara, you've been really good for me. And thank you, Lloyd, for sharing that, by the way. You've been really good for me to help me loosen up and not take things so serious as well.
So we know that you have a story to share, whether it's very dark times and near-death experiences, or whether it's just the time that you spilled spaghetti on the floor. we want all the stories. They're all unique. They're all fun. And God is the same in every story in the sense that who he is, but he shows up in our story differently. And those are ways we encourage each other. But the cool thing is, and the reason we're doing this episode today is to share with you an easy way for you to share your story with us. And it's kind of fun too.
Right, because we know that you have a story behind your smiles. We know that if you've been married for longer than 15 minutes, there's probably a story there. But yeah, you can go to wowgod.com. And when you go there, you're going to see a bunch of podcasts. One of them is Behind Our Smiles. You'll see our face, the image of Behind Our Smiles. Just click on that. And then on that page, there's going to be a little microphone icon. Yeah, a little microphone icon.
We said we're going to share the microphone with you. So
Yeah.
this is how we're going to share our microphone with you.
Now you can, and then all you need to do is click that, and you can do that from your computer, your phone, whatever's most convenient for you. And it'll use the microphone right on your computer or on your phone.
On your phone is easiest.
Yes.
So on your phone is easiest. And the nice thing is, though, if I believe if you're recording and suddenly you're like tripping all over your words, you can stop it and like start again. You're
Yeah.
not, it's okay. So no pressure.
Yeah, it won't send until you click
microphones-
send.
I know
Yeah.
microphones are scary things for the average person. So don't be scared of the microphone.
But the cool thing is a microphone's not going to actually jump out at you.
No,
You'll just be holding your
it
phone as
won't.
normal, and then you can share. But we do have a couple of things to share about how to share your story to make it really easy. Some things to think about before you hit the microphone icon.
When we've gone through this whole process too, Joe, you and I going, okay, we knew we had a story. How do we, or you say, I don't have it, I'm not sure. And so sometimes it helps to have someone kind of coach you through and saying, well, what did I experience? Or why is that a story? And so I think it is helpful sometimes to have someone come behind you and help you. So if you want help with that, we would love to help you with that.
So we'll give just a couple of ideas, and then we'll put these in the show notes as well. But as you think about like even this idea, I think every single one of us has a story when we think about God's intervention during moments of feeling lost, uncertain, or hopeless. A time when God provided strength and resources to conquer maybe something that seemed impossible, a challenge or obstacle. And when you think about that, there's something that you were facing that was really tough, looked impossible, but somehow God came through. That moment you're thinking about right now, that would be a fantastic story.
Or the time you just had, again, a dilemma in your home or family. And again, especially for our podcast here in your marriage, where you kind of were thought at a stuck spot. You're like, okay, I think we're stuck here, and in our human strength, we can't get past this point, this problem, this struggle. And then God showed up, and that guidance to say, here's our next step, and you found some level of victory. We all have that story somewhere. And again, whether it's a small or a big moment.
And kind of, just jumping right on that, a time when God showed up in a mighty, profound, or significant way. A time when, again, you thought it was going to go one way, your circumstances, and God showed up and it went another way.
I think we also have stories or parts of our life where we but we see more clearly who God's character really is. Because sometimes we can have misimpressions of who he is, right? We think he's this way, or again, he wouldn't care about this, or he doesn't care enough about me for that. And you kind of have a situation or experience to go, oh, I didn't realize God was so much present, or so much love, or so much attention to detail, that we want to share those moments. We want to share about who God is in our life and how he showed up in those specific instances, and they're all unique to us.
Yeah, and again, the reason that we're taking aside these moments and just asking you to share your story is because your story matters. Mm-hmm. It's important. And I think if you are not in the habit of sharing your story, as you become familiar with your story and you're able to share it, you're going to impact those around you. Storytelling is amazing. Hearing stories, again, going back to what we said earlier, being able to relate, being encouraged, finding hope, being inspired.
And even if
you
your story
have something to say.
Is not yet over. Sometimes we tell our stories midstream.
Yes, that's true.
I know that, Joe, even you and I've shared our story, talked about what we've experienced years and years and years ago. And since then, we've added 3 or 4 more chapters with new stories. So it's not like I have to wait till everything is wrapped up in a pretty bow to tell my story. You might be midstream and saying, here's where I'm at in my story, but I'm already seeing God's work in that. Then that's okay too.
And that's a great point, because it's okay to be mid, to be in a place to say, hey, here is what has happened. I haven't seen God come through yet, or I haven't seen the what you're talking about, but here's why I'm trusting God. Here's where I'm at to the best of my ability. And I think that's when stories become so encouraging, is when we're in that place where we're waiting for God. We're looking for that light at the end of the tunnel. We're expecting God to do things, but it hasn't worked out the way we thought it should. In those moments, that's when we need encouragement, and that's when that encouragement can be so powerful.
So we would love for you to step out of your comfort zone and press the microphone button.
Yes.
We all have to do it sometimes. Just that microphone is a scary thing. I know that, but press the microphone button. And we love reading your stories for sure, but there's something about hearing someone's own voice that brings it to a next level.
And if you want to start with something very, very easy,
What
maybe
makes
you
you
don't want to share
smile.
that whole
Yeah.
story, you can just share what makes you smile about your husband or wife. And here's the cool thing. We'll play that. There's a good
Yeah.
chance your audio ends up right on here, and
love
we're going to
it.
make you sound good.
Yes.
So don't even worry about that. We're going to make you will sound good, I promise. All you have to do is go to wowgod.com, click on our faces. I know that sounds weird, but you'll see the image of behind our
Touch my
smiles.
nose.
Click that, and then you'll see the microphone button. And if you do have any problems or you just need help finding it, please email us, Tara, Tara, at behindaoursmiles.com.
Yeah, if you're not ready for the microphone, we'll give you a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
You can still contact us via email, social media. We still love your feedback. We still love your stories. We still love all the reasons that you tell us that your spouse makes you smile.
And think about how your husband or wife will feel hearing you share with your own voice about what makes you smile about that.
And this is a bonus story, but recently we ran into a couple where we had shared their Make Me Smile on the podcast. I don't believe I had messaged them. I tried to send an email if I'm going to use your smile. But I think I hadn't messaged her, so she did not realize what was going to happen. And I think people were texting her and saying, hey, I heard your husband talking about you in the podcast. But she said, it made me smile all day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of double. Like the made her smile twice. You got double credit for that.
Yeah, she said that, I think the first few texts were, I love what your husband said about you. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What did my husband say?
And she's like, it made me smile all
so,
day.
Yeah, so we would love to be able to do that. And you definitely bring joy into our lives and those who listen to the podcast by sharing what makes you smile about your husband or wife. So thanks for hanging out with us today. Next week, we have a very special episode we're doing.
Yeah, we're starting a new series.
A new series.
A little mini series.
And do you want to share anything about that?
It's going to get intense.
Going to get intense.
I'm feeling it.
Here's the thing, though. What we're going to be sharing has been very helpful for us in our marriage. So we're going to be sharing some things that we've learned.
Nice and vague, Joe.
It's really weird. It's like you shouldn't tease things you're not going to talk about, but it'll be worth it. We'll just say that.
Yeah, this is really bad. It's just going to be great. Take our word for it. I don't know.
No, they're they don't even have anything planned,
Yes.
right? They don't have anything planned.
You better get that ready.
I know this. I know for a fact Tara's been working on this for a while, so it'll be fun. Would love to hear from you. If you want to share what makes you smile, obviously you can do that on wowgod.com, or you could share it in writing if that's what you want to do. Tara at behindaoursmiles.com. Your 5-star rating is huge. Thank you. And your review is really appreciated. Appreciate that so much. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Behind Our Smiles is a Wow God production, a ministry of the University of Northwestern St. Paul. Discover more at wowgod.com.